Hey everybody, welcome back. My guest this evening is no stranger to the show. He is also the founder and president of Windsor Vax Finders. Please welcome back Noah Gascon. Noah, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Zach.
So, according to the Windsor Essex Health Unit, over 500,000 people in Windsor have been vaccinated. What do you think about those stats?
Well, obviously, it's incredible that over 75% of the eligible population across Windsor Essex has stepped up to receive at least one dose of the COVID vaccine. Obviously, that is a significant number, and the second doses have been rolling out for about 2 months now, and we have well over 65% of the eligible population with two doses in that category. Um, just have to say, it's incredible to see so many people willing to protect the health of their community, as well as their loved ones, by finding a way to decrease the transmission, as well as their likelihood to get infected, as well as hospitalized or seriously ill. And even though those are very high numbers, we know it's not enough, and we know that there's still a significant chunk of unvaccinated people who should go out and get their first and second doses. And that's really something that we have to encourage in the coming weeks and months, because we know that the fourth wave has already begun. And we know that unvaccinated people are going to be highly susceptible to the Delta variant. So if any unvaccinated people are watching this today, please go get your shot. It is easier than ever. Devonshire Mall, you can just walk right in and they'll give you your shot. But yeah, no, it's incredible.
For God's sakes, it's free, people. Go
Yeah,
get your
it's free.
go get your shots. So what do you think? What do you think the next step is in order to getting more people vaccinated?
Well, obviously, when we look at how we are going to incentivize or um, incentivize vaccination and disincentivize not getting vaccinated, as we move forward, there's going to be many steps that our governments are going to have to look at. So we know that many jurisdictions are considering vaccine passports. We know that France, Italy, as well as our neighbors to the east, Quebec, have already adopted a vaccine passport, which is essentially saying you cannot enter a non-essential business unless you have both doses of the vaccine. It may be different if it's one or two doses between the jurisdictions. I'll be honest, I haven't researched that too much, but as soon as that was announced, I believe in France, um, the appointment bookings increased by fivefold within 24 hours after that announcement. So we know that does motivate people to get their vaccine, because obviously it's increasing the number of appointments being booked, and it's incentivizing, well, if you get your vaccine, then you can participate in normal life, and you're also going to be able to interact with society in a normal way. So that's another thing we have to consider, as well as reaching out to our vulnerable communities as well. We know that there's still a chunk of the population that has not necessarily been reached out to, whether it be our immigrant communities, our minority communities, as well as those in situations where there may be language barriers. We still have to do outreach to those communities too, but I would say the vast majority of people who are unvaccinated now, is sort of by choice, or they just need that nudge to go get vaccinated. So I think those are going to be the next steps that our governments are going to look at. I won't comment specifically on exactly what's happening province-wide and their decision regarding that. Um, but we are going to see what happens, and I do believe that's the next step in the process. So definitely going to be interesting the next few weeks to see how that plays out.
So, what are you for vaccine passports then?
So on a personal note, speaking on behalf of myself and not Windsor Vaxxers, yes, I do personally support a vaccine passport system put in place province-wide, that would allow people to access certain non-essential businesses such as indoor dining, movie theaters, as well as if we look at our vulnerable too, we have healthcare settings as well. There's incredibly vulnerable people who could get exposed to COVID and have lasting implications from it, as well as potentially death. Um, we do have to look at implement in those settings. And obviously, it's something that it's going to be a contentious issue in the coming weeks. But personally, I do support it, and anything that's going to incentivize people to get vaccinated, let's do it. Let's do it now before this fourth wave gets any worse.
So less than 60% of the population have been administered. What's the goal to ramp those things up? I think we touched on that a little bit.
Yeah, so
Anything
like I
else?
said, it's really going to be reaching out to those communities that still have not been vaccinated. So reaching out through advertising as well as going door to door, and answering any questions they may have about hesitancy. And it's okay to have questions about the vaccine. Like this is something that was introduced months ago, and people still have questions, and that's totally okay. So I would personally encourage them to go speak to their primary care physician, um, as well as healthcare workers and other trusted members of the community to really get accurate answers to their questions about how the vaccine works, and essentially what the side effects may be and that kind of thing as well. So there's that piece, as well as putting in the vaccine passport system, which is something that obviously falls under provincial jurisdiction. And it's going to be up to the provincial foregovernment to decide whether or not we have a vaccine passport system. Like I said, personally, I'm for it. And I think that's going to increase vaccination rates in our community. And I really think outreach to the youth as well, because if you look at essentially all the age demographics in Windsor, Essex that have had the vaccine, the lowest is currently at the 12 to 17 category. And those people are going back to schools in the fall. They're going to be in the classrooms. And obviously, they're going to be at an increased risk of being exposed to COVID. So really getting those vaccines in before back to school time. And even myself, like I'm starting first year university, even though most of my classes are online, I will know that there's going to be quite a few people on campus. And personally, I would be okay with a mandate on campus as well, to see people get vaccinated there, because the 18 to 29 category, which is essentially the next category, is the second lowest for first and second dose vaccination in Windsor, Essex. So we have to pull out all the stops here before we trigger a significant Delta wave. And I truly believe that if we do this, we can mitigate the impacts of this wave, as well as protect our vulnerable and make sure we keep low hospitalization and death rates as we move forward here. But obviously, it's a contentious issue, and going to be interesting to see what happens over the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think vaccine passports are important, and we should have those.
Mm-hmm.
Just waiting for the negative comments to roll in. So how much of a role do you think you guys played, and I do mean Windsor Vax Finders played in getting people vaccinated?
So great question. So obviously looking back, in early May when I decided to launch this initiative and recruit our 30 amazing volunteers who have worked so hard over these past few months, I think that we have played a significant role in the vaccination rollout. But I would say the number one group of people who have played the most significant role has to be our healthcare workers, and the wonderful team at the health unit who have organized all these clinics, and it really reached out to significant portions of the community to make sure people get their vaccine. Vaccinating 75% of the population is not an easy task. I'll tell you that right now. Even personally, I was a little bit skeptical that we were going to get that high with the vaccination rollout, but we did it. It's all about outreach. So what we did at Windsor Vax Finders was essentially contact all the pharmacies in Windsor, Essex, see if they have vaccine available, and also essentially check the appointment times on the health unit website, see if they have appointments available, and also scour the area for pop-up clinics that says, hey, you don't need an appointment, just go on up and get your vaccine, which a lot of people like because the appointment process can be a little bit difficult for some people. And obviously, it was very helpful to many community members. We saw 40,000 visits to our website cumulatively, to book the appointments for the vaccines. And there were other resources too, where people could go out and print their vaccination receipt. We included a direct link to that. And we also had links to other pharmacies where they could book their appointments through a third party. So um, 40,000 visits was not something that we weren't expecting. And then also when we look at our social media, we had 7,000 unique followers across all of our platforms show up within 3 weeks. Getting 7,000 followers within 3 weeks was something I personally didn't expect. And I'll be honest, a lot of us who are on the leadership team did not expect that either. And it was really amazing to see the outreach we got from the community and people taking our posts that we made based off the information we got from all these community organizations and sharing it with their friends and sharing it with their family members. Um, and I know it saved lives at the end of the day. Personally, I wasn't sure if we were going to grow big enough to say, okay, we could have potentially saved lives and prevented infections. But I'm confident that we did save lives and we did prevent infections by providing people with the earlier notice that there's appointments available at certain locations across Windsor, Essex, as well as certain walk-in opportunities as well. So, and as I said, you may have seen my story on Twitter where um, my mom passed away from COVID-19 at the height of the second wave, and essentially what happened was the vaccine came into her home the day after she passed away. They vaccinated all the residents. And I knew how quickly the disease can progress. Like she got COVID on New Year's Eve, 7 days later, she was on her deathbed, right? And obviously, there's so many people who might end up in that situation if they don't get the vaccine as soon as possible, because we know that the incubation period for this virus is incredibly rapid, and you can go from an asymptomatic infection to a hospital bed within days. That's how serious this virus is. And that was with the original strain of COVID. That was with, I believe, the Wuhan strain of it. Now we have the Delta variant. The amount of viral particles that are in your nasal pharynx from this virus, or I should say the Delta variant compared to the Wuhan variant, 1,000 times higher, 1,000 times higher of viral particles that end up in your nasal pharynx. So you can imagine how much worse the virus is going to wreak havoc on your body when you have a significant amount of virus going into you. And obviously, even though vaccinated people could still potentially have breakthrough infections, we know that they're still effective against severe illness. We know that they're very effective against death as well. And that's what matters at the end of the day. Listen, if you get COVID and you're vaccinated and this is a common cold, consider that a blessing in a sense, because um, you could have been in a much worse situation if you weren't vaccinated. But obviously, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here about the importance of getting vaccinated. But like I said, I truly feel that our team did such a great job in putting the word out to the community about available appointments, and we made a significant difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, with your statistic there, I think you could just feel the people not wanting to leave their homes.
Yeah, no, obviously it's something that is it's a little bit difficult, especially when we started it during the stay-at-home order that was imposed because of the third wave in Ontario. So at that point, everybody was locked down and maybe didn't want to leave the house at that point. But I will say the one exception was getting your vaccine. That's very important. Absolutely leave the house for that and get that. And a lot of people were willing to do that at the end of the day, which was really great to see. And we've been successful in mitigating the infection for the vaccinated population, but we do see cases rising, like I said, in Windsor, Essex, and Ontario. But these cases are predominantly among the unvaccinated population. And if they don't get their shots, then this is going to get significantly worse. And we have to pull out all the stops to make sure we have a significant degree of population immunity as we head into the fall and we move indoors. So we're going to see what happens, but it's definitely going to be interesting.
So, so what's next for the Windsor Vax Finders? Because COVID's not going to last forever, hopefully.
So I'll put it as stay tuned. We are currently working on the plan right now to show the public our next phase of Windsor Vax Finders. Obviously, we know that vaccines are plentiful now. They are readily available. It's easier than ever to get one. So we're going to be unveiling a self-serve tool in the next few weeks. And I'll just say stay tuned for that announcement. It's coming very soon.
You heard it here first.
Yes, yes, yes.
So how optimistic do you feel we'll actually get out of this and have COVID behind us?
Well, that's a great question. And obviously, personally, I'm not a scientist and I'm not somebody who can necessarily predict what's going to happen with the virus, because we know this virus can sometimes be unpredictable. But it all depends on population immunity. So one person who I have a lot of respect for, his name is David Feisman. He is sits on the Ontario Science Table and essentially maps out different scenarios for the virus and what could happen. So essentially what he did a few months ago was looked at, okay, if we have the Delta variant that's going to become the dominant strain in Ontario, okay, how much of a degree of population immunity do we need to say, okay, this virus is endemic. We can essentially drop all the measures and move back to normal life. So he calculated that, and essentially we need 90% of the population to roll up their sleeves and get not just one, but 2 doses of the vaccine for this virus to become endemic. And obviously, it's still a prediction. It could be wrong. You never know. But like I said, the more people that get vaccinated, the greater of a chance we get over the hump early and we are able to declare this virus endemic, because COVID's never going to go away. This pandemic is going to end. Like, I'm 100% certain this pandemic will end. But COVID will never go away, and COVID is still going to be with us. But to end pandemic restrictions, masking, social distancing, that kind of thing, at the end of the day, we're going to need at least 90% of our population either vaccinated or having a natural infection to reach that level of immunity. So we're going to see what happens over the next few weeks. And it's really going to be about governmental policy and decisions that are going to determine whether or not we're going to reach that point early, or whether or not we're going to have to wait and sit down and keep living through this virus because of inaction. So we're going to see what happens. It's definitely going to be interesting.
Alrighty, well, just to recap, get your vaccine. It's free, and help us all get out of this. It's free. What more do you want? All right. Well, Noah,
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us this evening, rather. And also, you can find Windsor Vax Finders on Twitter. Just go to Windsor Vax Finders, follow them, so you can be in the latest of the vaccines. All right. Again, thank you, Noah. We'll be right back, more remotely, Zach, right after this.
Thank you, Zach.
If you made it to the end of this video, remember to please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, as well as give us a big old thumbs up. And also, check out our other videos here as well. Please, I'm not allowed to get up until you do.